We got some video game news to discuss about. We're gonna be talking about everybody's favorite company, EA. And once again, man, another cancellation on their hands. They just canceled the open world Star Wars game that was originally being developed by Visceral Games. If you remember, Visceral Games was the one that made one of my favorite horror franchises, Dead Space. And then the director, Amy Hennig, who directed, I think, the first Uncharted.
She's worked on. I think she worked on all the first three.
Okay.
The first three?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So like she was attached to the project, and then they just completely shut that whole studio down, basically. What do you guys got to say about this, real quick?
Yeah, this is a typical EA. I mean, of course they shut down a game that everyone's looking forward to, and I've heard whispers that they were looking for ways to capitalize in ways. I don't know if these whispers are true or not, but they were looking for ways to capitalize in regards to making the most money out of the game with microtransactions, and they just couldn't find it with the story that they wanted to tell. And it was like, no, we just want to do this, and there was like obvious like infighting going on because of that.
Okay, yeah.
And this was back when it was going to be a different type of game, and then Visceral got shut down.
Yeah.
And then they took it over, and they were going to make this. This is same thing, right? They were going to make this open.
Yeah.
game.
So I'm looking at the article from Kotaku. Jason Schreier, I think is how you pronounce it. Schreier, thank you. Is his name? EA Vancouver took over the project for the after they shut down Visceral Games back in October 2017, and they've been working on it ever since. And there's just been like some rumors going around. They didn't say anything at E3. The only thing they did announce at E3 was Jedi Fallen Order, which I'm going to bring up later on during this discussion.
That's probably going to get canceled.
That's why I want to ask. But now, I mean, just literally announced like 50 minutes, not even 50 minutes ago, an hour ago, hour and 50 minutes, maybe 2 hours now. Alex sent me the article before we started the show, and I was like, yeah, let's talk about this. I mean, this is right off the press, basically, that they shut down an open world Star Wars game.
Yeah, I feel like this is good. People were really looking forward to this. Like, this is like what they wanted for a Star Wars game, something that's open world, something that's cool. Yeah. I mean, they really just wanted a linear story as well, but I mean, they were hyped for this, and unfortunately, all they got was Star Wars Battlefront 2 and a canceled game now, which is really just a darn shame, honestly. And it's such a shame that companies like EA and Activision just don't understand how to make compelling and great games as opposed to just looking at the bottom line, and it's really just crappy.
That's definitely the ethical, not even ethical, but just the standpoint and objective that EA as a company has. I don't want to like bash EA because I feel like sometimes people go overboard with the EA.
They definitely do.
I agree.
I will say that they're a company and they're looking to make money, and their way they make money is by video games. It's just their product. So like at the end of the day, they look at it more as a product instead of a form of entertainment. And so I don't know. I didn't know anything about this open world Star Wars game. So I don't know any details on it, but I will say this is disheartening because as a huge fan of Star Wars, I love everything Star Wars. This is the game that should have been like this. I've been pining for a Star Wars open world game for so long, and this would have been the perfect way to do that. But until then, I guess I'm just going to have to stay put with all my Lego Star Wars games.
There you go.
I mean, those games are fantastic.
No,
don't get me wrong. I love the
really
Lego
good.
Star Wars games.
Jack loves those games.
Look, I just want to put it out there. I don't think, honestly, this should not be this difficult. It is not this difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, open world games are like the thing. They have been the thing for years. Assassin's Creed just put out arguably one of the best entries in its entire series and made it an open world game about the same level of scope as, say, Witcher 3, and that did really well. I don't, like, even if EA was going to make it its typical, like, EA, like, microtransaction garbage and inject that into it, you'd think it would be easy enough for them to make an enjoyable Star Wars game that a lot of people would buy. Like, they could, and this is just thinking about in terms of, from the perspective of, oh, EA is just evil corporation. I don't even understand why they would cancel it if they were going to try and rob us of our money. That makes even less sense.
I think, okay, so, all right, these are kind of the speculations I've been having after hearing this. I think they're about to lose the EA, not the EA license, the Star Wars license from Disney. I think Disney's seeing after the disaster that Battlefront 2's launch was, and even now with them trying to fix it post-launch, that while it is attracting more players it's still not enough. I mean, that game, like, I see it always on sale on Xbox Live for $10, like, every other week of each month. And it's sad because I was actually really looking forward to that game. And I thought to myself, DICE making Battlefront should be literally the easiest thing ever. It's literally just taking Battlefield and giving it a Star Wars aesthetic. Why is this so hard?
And here's the thing, controversial statement, the old Star Wars Battlefront games are not that great.
They're really not.
They're really not. It had
Jack just had
a mode where you could play as any number of Star Wars heroes, and it was the best part of that game.
Yeah.
It was the best part of that game. Everything else is like, whatever. But that part, it's like, you'd think that they would capitalize on that. You'd think it's like when they make this new, basically, Battlefield Star Wars edition, they would just put that in. But it's like, no, we're only going to put in like a couple of characters.
Like, the old Battlefront games, don't get me wrong, they're a ton of fun to play. They are literally what we want a Star Wars Battlefield game to be like. It's just the AI is not the best in the games. You know, some of the gameplay is a bit unbalanced and whatnot, but that was just the early 2000s. It's fine that it was like that. It's just today we should be expecting literally what DICE has been doing with the Battlefield franchise. I don't understand what's so hard. They can't just do it with the Star Wars Battlefront franchise. What is so hard about just like, okay, you know what? You can get in vehicles because they're at your base. Why does it have to be a stupid token that I have to get or points? Like, whose idea was this?
Yeah, just because Star Wars is in this like fantasy realm doesn't mean we have to throw out all conventions of like how we simulate war. Like, it could work the same way as you have Battlefield 1, 5, 4, whichever Battlefield works. Any contemporary Battlefield, it's not a whole new multiplayer monster.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have to work like that either.
Yeah. And now it looks like they still have a project in the works. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe.
They do. They have something in the. It's not the open world Star Wars game. They have not announced what it is. It's not clear. This is what it says from the Kotaku article. It's not clear what EA Vancouver's next new game will be. We've heard it. It might be a different Star Wars project. Respawn, the Los Angeles-based studio responsible for Titanfall, great game, is also making a Star Wars game called Jedi Fallen Order. We were talking about that earlier. The game is currently scheduled for fall of 2019. That's the Fallen Order game, but nothing about what their new project will be. I'm sure at I'm sure EA will be making an announcement at E3 this year about what Vancouver's next project will be, and then we'll get gameplay of Fallen Order.
I agree, and I think Fallen Order is definitely going to get pushed back.
Oh, God, yeah. It's either going to get pushed back.
Spring.
If this gets scrapped, then this is just confirming my theory that Disney is just going to take it to a different studio.
I could totally see that, but we haven't seen anything from Fallen Order aside from giving a title a year ago almost, and that's it. And it's supposed to come out in the fall this year.
Yeah.
There's no hype built. I mean, I respect it that they're not building hype yet until E3. That's like the Bethesda way. But like, that doesn't sound reasonable, honestly, especially with them working on Titanfall 3, which is all but confirmed as well.
Hey, Disney, give it to Activision or give it to Ubisoft.
Let me ask you. Well, okay, we're gonna be talking about Activision in just a moment, though. Let me ask you guys this roundtable thought here: what studio would you love to see pick up the Star Wars franchise? I'll give two. I would love to see Insomniac Games pick it up after seeing how great they did with Spider-Man and the very few like hours I've played of it at my friend's house. And then, of course, Sunset Overdrive. I'm like, man, they could totally make an awesome Jedi combat game. And then I think Square Enix wouldn't be a bad person to turn to based on the Tomb Raider games, like the rebooted ones. I thought those were great. I think they would make a pretty solid, like, you know, if this was going to be like the Uncharted, like, of Star Wars games, they can probably do a good job. And hell, if you need to, give it to Naughty Dog if they're not busy with The Last of Us 2.
Yeah. They're always going to be busy.
Chris, you got any developers in mind you would love to see?
Okay. Go to me last.
Alex?
I would probably say like Sucker Punch. I mean, they did Infamous, which was like...
Ooh, yeah.
Which everyone thought that they were going to be the ones working on Spider-Man before like Spider-Man was all but confirmed. Only for it to be like Insomniac, which I thought was neat. But I don't know. Sucker Punch, I think, could do a really cool like Star Wars story.
And they play with powers in their games and everything.
Exactly.
I mean, you literally shoot electricity, so you got the dark side down right there.
Right. Aside from that, I would love to see just an online-only version made by Bethesda. No, I'm just kidding.
That doesn't work as intended, ever.
No, but like Sucker Punch or something like you said, Crystal Dynamics working on it. Like they rebooted like Tomb Raider in a really
that's what
cool
I meant.
way.
It's Crystal Dynamics, not Square Enix.
No, yeah, and that would be cool to see, honestly.
Matthew, you got a developer in mind?
Well, I said Activision, stuff like that. You know, just give it to any of those like
Just get it away from EA.
Just get it away from EA. I think if they gave the rights to Ubisoft, I think that they have a lot of really interesting studios. Like it could be a AAA action adventure game. It could be an open world game. It could be one of those like UbiArt framework games. They could really, for a universe as expansive as Star Wars, you need a publisher or developer who can go as broad as it possibly can go.
Yeah.
With that type of universe. So you can make games for all sorts of audiences and also make games that are quality. Because I'm just going to be honest with you, I hate EA. And I've only been given more reasons to hate them as time has gone on. The only thing I even give a crap about from them is Battlefield nowadays. And even that they're finding a way to screw up.
Yeah.
But, I just honestly, Ubisoft is the best thing that comes to mind, because I don't want it, because a lot of the ones you mentioned are great, but I'd be worried that they'd make console exclusive Star Wars games, which is fine, but I don't want one console to exclusively have Star Wars. Like, I'm okay with like one Spider-Man game that's really good that's only on PS4.
Yeah.
I don't want the entire Star Wars brand to be. I don't want to rob Xbox fans of that.
Yeah. Thank you for your
no,
your consideration.
I agree. I agree with that.
Going off of Matthew's point, I mean, Ubisoft honestly wouldn't be a bad one now thinking about it. I mean, you got the Rainbow Six games. Siege is like one of my favorite shooters right now.
Siege is great.
That I could totally see them making like some tactical Star Wars
like
game with like Republic Commando. Yeah,
Republic Commando is so good.
That's a what's it called from Pacific Rim? When like the two people like connect together.
They in the
whatever
breach
it's
or
called.
Whatever.
That was great.
But like, Assassin's Creed can totally be like a Jedi game. Even like, just stuff like the Division can be another like, third person shooter game. Chris, do you have a developer in mind?
Yeah, sort of. In terms of actual like developer, one person, I just want to see this person write and direct one, like a true Dark Side Empire story or First Order, something dark, sadistic, and really twisted, and really just play with the Force. What if Hideo Kojima made a Star Wars game?
God, yes.
I honestly, he goes crazy with Death Stranding.
You know
and
what,
Metal
Chris,
Gear.
I want to kiss you right now.
You know what? You really think about Episode 5 when Luke goes into that tree that Yoda tells him to go into,
What if
and
that
just
was...
like how many disturbing images like Kojima can play with that whole idea of the dark side of the Force and whatnot.
Goodness.
And like it calling to you, like, oh my god!
I guess like
He's about the only person who could do politics in Star Wars well.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! Yeah, you're right.
Have Troy Baker as like the head commander of like this fire squad. Oh my god.
Have Kiefer Sutherland just grunt his way to success, dude.
I was gonna say too. I mean, like even Last Jedi, like you have like that part where Rey goes into the cave and like sees like the reflections of herself when she snaps her fingers. Like, imagine Hideo Kojima making that scene.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Everything with like the dark side of Star Wars, not even like the Force. I mean, like literally dark themes of Star Wars. Hideo Kojima could play with that so well, and then play up those campiness that like the campiness factor that is well known for like 70s, 80s Star Wars. Who I think it'll actually go to. I feel like Naughty Dog is probably the best bet. I mean, they have a pretty good track record and a pretty reputable track record. Who I think it probably would go to, honestly, it's not horrible to say, probably Capcom. Because I feel like they can handle licensed properties well. I mean, I know they're more in the realm of fighting games and platformers, shooters, stuff like that. But I mean, it's not unthinkable that they could make a Star Wars game.
A Star Wars survival horror game.
What if they gave it to Bungie?
We'll talk about that.
Oh,
That's not a bad idea, like for a first-person shooter.
Yeah, they got the first-person stuff down.
So one more joke answer. I say we go super weird. Speaking of Japanese creators, I say we have a Star Wars game directed by Yoko Taro, the guy who created the Nier franchise.
Oh, no.
So we make it weird. We make it all sexy. We make it philosophical. It's gonna be